I'm just wondering where things went so horribly wrong. What I'm talking about is that in this country, we used to be able to talk about almost anything, and people did it civilly. You were able to disagree with people and still walk away as friends. What's happened to that? Are we really that broken as a country? It's not just about the assassination of Charlie Kirk, it's about so much more. People constantly unfriend or break relationships with people that they've known for years over political or ideological differences. Isn't this a country that was founded on the ability to allow people to have a difference of opinion? There were no state sponsored ideas or religion. You were allowed to participate in whatever religion you wanted, and you were allowed to think whatever you wanted to think. So, where has it gone so horribly wrong? Again, are we that broken as a society and as a country that we can no longer respectfully disagree? If you go back to the 1980s and you look at the Ronald Reagan presidency, many people think that it was Reagan that was driving the agenda and driving the bus. But if you stop and you really look at it and you read about history and you pay attention, it was that he and the then Speaker of the House, Tip O'Neill from Massachusetts, had a pretty good working relationship. They understood that neither one of them was going to get everything they wanted, but by compromising, they were able to make things better, hopefully, for a large percentage of the population. Again, they agreed on very little, but they put their ideological and political differences aside in order to try and come to a compromise, in order to try and make things better for this country and for our communities. When did that stop being something we could do? Why is it that now people think that whoever shouts the loudest is right, or whoever shouts the loudest wins? When did that become something that was A, fashionable, and B, effective? I had huge discussions with a friend of mine's father over the years. He and I were from slightly different ideological backgrounds. He was a dyed in the wool, very left leaning liberal Democrat. I tend to be more of a centrist. So oftentimes we didn't always agree on what was going on in the world. We would have lengthy political or ideological discussions where neither one of us really was trying to convince the other. We were simply laying our cards out on the table. We were talking about why we felt a certain way and why we thought things should be handled a certain way. There was no animosity, there was no yelling. At the end, we would often smile and laugh and joke with one another that we just weren't ever going to see eye to eye. Isn't that really what we should be doing? Shouldn't we be having open discussions where people are allowed to have a dissenting opinion? I remember a few years ago being at a dinner party and the discussion turned to politics and they were talking about the upcoming election. This was when Joe Biden was still in it and he had not run things to Kamala Harris. And I said, I don't think a lot of young people are going to vote for Biden. And the group was aghast. How could that possibly be? I had a difference of opinion. They listened, and we went on and had a lovely dinner. Hopefully, we can get back there someday.